Welcome to the season premiere of Let's Talk Sports, new sports talk show here on WYLN, focusing on different teams, events, and anything related to sports that's going to take us to our high school football season in the year 2021. I'm your host, Marty Burns. Joining us this week is head girls basketball coach at Berwick High School, Mr. Bill Phillips. We're going to go over a great 2021 season of Berwick girls basketball. That's all coming up right after this. Welcome back to Let's Talk Sports here on WYLN. I'm your host, Marty Burns, and very happy to have as our first guest of the season, head girls basketball coach at Berwick High School, Mr. Bill Phillips. And Bill, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Marty. I really appreciate it.
Now, Coach, 2021, well, even 2020, but 2021 for our discussion tonight, so hard. Nobody could have foreseen what COVID and the pandemic was going to bring. And for you guys, for a long time, you didn't even know if really you were going to play. So congratulations on getting a season in. And it was such a successful season, but we'll touch on that. But just to get the season in and the challenges you and your staff and your players had to go through.
Without a doubt, it was very uncertain whether we were going to play or not. We were actually practicing, not knowing if we were going to play a game, which was very difficult.
And I remember we came down for your Wilkes-Barre game, and I remember you told me, especially to the seniors, you said to them, play like this is your last game because we don't know. And thankfully for you guys and for so many teams in our area and all over the United States, they got seasons in. And, no matter how much, you didn't play the same amount of games that you normally play, but at least you got something out there. You got to play and you had people have an opportunity to see.
Right. We knew going in that our schedule was going to be condensed. We limited our non-league schedule to Lake Lehman and Nanticoke local teams. We usually play Downingtown East, which is down in the Philly area, and they weren't coming up here without a doubt. But we did tell our girls that we have an opportunity in front of us, and just this could be our last game. We said that before every game, literally.
And now, when you look back, you didn't get the end result, but we'll talk about that last game because it's such a special place to play. But you didn't get the end result you wanted. But when you look at it in the hindsight, Wyoming Valley Conference Championship. You got your first win in the Hazleton area, and I know you'll mention how many years when we talk about it a little bit later. But the accomplishments that this team gave, not only to themselves, to your staff, but the Berwick community. A girl like Katie Starr, we talked about it off air, 1,000 and 1,000. That's not something that's real easy to do. We're talking points and rebounds in a career. That's hard to do, but what your team accomplished in this season?
Well, it starts with our seniors. We started 4 seniors, and they did not miss one game all year. Katie Starr she was a beast to be reckoned with throughout the year. And for her to have a double-double in every game except our last game, being double-teamed and often triple-teamed, we had other players step up. We have the motto that everybody's role might be different, but their status is the same. However, that does change game to game.
Right.
We missed a lot of players during our quarantine and injuries, and it seemed like the next person we plugged in had a career night for us, which everything just fell into place then.
And, Katie Starr, she's going to go on to Bloomsbury. I know they're very excited to have her. Another young lady, and we could talk about the circumstances of getting her 1,000 points, Rennie Murphy. She strikes me as one of those players, I like to say quiet but lethal. You don't think she's doing much, and then all of a sudden she strikes.
Yes.
And what a key second piece to your team.
It's a great 1-2 punch to have. Not many teams have that. Rennie worked extremely hard in the weight room in the off season. Actually, as soon as we shut down in March last year for the quarantine, she hit the weights hard because she knew she wanted to go into the military and to pass the physical fitness test. And when she came back, her shot she struggled with a little bit in the beginning of the season. And I said, Rennie, you're so strong now, just get to the rim. Great free throw shooter. Her percentage is probably one of the best in the league. So to have that accompanied with Katie Starr is a nice asset to have.
And then, to round out your squad and your bench, and as you said, when you needed to have somebody step up, they did, gave you a great night. And a lot of times you hear that so often, no matter what sport you're talking about, whenever somebody stepped up, They always stepped up tremendously, had a career year type thing. Just talk about the rest of your group.
Well, Emily Weemit's our point guard, and actually a year ago she was our videographer and wasn't even on the team, and she videotaped a scrimmage and texted me after the game and said, "Coach, I can't do this, I got to play." And she's going to play college soccer. She did a great job for us. I think she probably only averaged about 3 turnovers a game, if that. She also is a very, very instrumental part of our locker room as far as a leader, very vocal leader. And Jackie Neville is the other senior starter. She's also playing college athletics. So we have 4 seniors starting that are playing athletics at the next level, which is tremendous. Jackie's going to be playing field hockey in college. Twice, right after our quarantine, Jackie scored 10 points in 2 different games and stepped up big time when we were missing some other key players.
And ultimately, as I mentioned, a Wyoming Valley Conference championship for Berwick, and it's been a long time since
it's been a long
that was
time.
accomplished.
It wasn't easy, Marty. It's never easy. And realistically, we're the only 4A school in Division I.
Right.
Everybody else is 5A and 6A. In our press conference every year, every coach says the same thing, and it's almost like a cliche that you can't take off any night, and it does hold true with our Division I, even our Division II in our conference. It's just a tough battle every night. And for what we went through starting on January 23rd when we had to shut down because of COVID on our team, our players, it was devastating at practice for me to tell them that. Tears were shed and our season's ruined. What are we going to do? And during that quarantine, we just tried to stay in contact with some Zoom meetings just to try to keep them mentally stable throughout the quarantine.
And with that Wyoming Valley Conference championship, it got you some home games. Different years, you would have been playing at neutral sites for the district playoffs. Right. You got to play at home. The girl talk about the girls' excitement to get a chance to play at home once again, and as it turned out, a couple times in the district playoffs.
Our girls love playing in our gym. I mean, it's a beautiful gym. It's very similar to Hazelton's gym, actually. They're comfortable there. It was decorated. We left all the senior night decorations up. Actually, it was a Saturday afternoon game, so senior day. But they really enjoyed it. The balloons were still there. I don't know where they got the helium from, but they lasted. They lasted throughout the playoffs. But we were very fortunate to have some home playoff games.
And then, even though you ended up finishing with a loss, and so many teams have great years, but they finish with a loss. To finish with a loss at Mohegan Sun Arena in the district championship, not the end result you wanted, but when you look back, the experience that your team had to go and play on that floor in that arena.
Right. It's unbelievable. We did it 5 years ago. We actually did it. We got there beating Scranton Prep, actually. The seniors we have this year, they were actually in 8th grade. And obviously the younger kids, they were in middle school, and they were all there watching when last time we were there. And you cannot prepare a team for that experience. We told them it's going to be, you're going to have goosebumps when you walk in out of the tunnel because they drop you off in the back. And it's great. I like to try to get out there first just to watch the expression on their faces. But what an unbelievable experience to play there. And we say all the time, there's only one team in each class that's going to finish with a win.
Right,
so
right.
It's tough to get there.
Yeah. And you mentioned it, 2 teams that played in the arena for a district sub-regional were 6A teams, Wilkes-Barre area, Hazelton area. We're going to talk about how the Lady Bulldogs did against both of those teams. Up next, you're watching Let's Talk Sports here on WYLN. Welcome back to the premiere of Let's Talk Sports here on WYLN. I'm your host, Marty Burns, joined by Berwick girls head basketball coach Bill Phillips. And Coach, we had talked about the 6A teams that were playing in the arena for the sub-regional championship, Wilkes-Barre area, Hazelton area. We'll go through the games. You went 4-0 against both of those squads combined. Started with a game here on WYLN at home against Wilkes-Barre area. Katie Starr got in early foul trouble, and I thought one of the keys was you did a lot of offense, defense with her, giving her some run where she got a few minutes of run, that type of thing. And I don't think she picked up her third till late in the fourth quarter. So It's a combination of managing, but also trusting the player.
Right, and she's very smart. When she gets 2 or 3, she knows. I think she only fouled out once this year, and to keep her fresh, get her in an offense, maybe an inbounds play here and there. We didn't want her to sit too many minutes.
Right, and she matched Ajayi 18 points for 18 points. We talked about Rennie Murphy. She had 6 of her 13 in a big third quarter, but she was that big second scorer for you.
Right. It's nice to have that. Wilkes-Barre's a very good team. Their guards can fly, and they like to penetrate. And Bob Clarko really works hard on our defense at practice. He's a big Duke fan, so he follows after that man-to-man concept, which you can also use in a zone set. And we threw a lot of different things at them, and our focus was Gloria. I mean, she's just a beast on the boards. But Katie Starr is also pretty tough on the boards too, so it's nice to have her to neutralize.
And I thought the key in that second half was your defense. You adjusted. You didn't let Ajayi get clean looks, and it seemed like the offense for Wilkes-Barre bogged down because you took her away because they were going to so many sets where they were looking to go to her.
Right.
Either you had 2 or 3 girls around her, or when she got it, she couldn't do much with it, and they ended up turning it over a bunch. And I thought the second half in your defense was the key to victory.
I believe so too, and when she puts it on the floor, she's tough to stop. So we had said, don't let her get it on the floor. When she does put it on the floor, we need to double her.
I remember I said to Coach Gavio at the game at Hazleton, I said, there's not much you can stop with her. She did one of those dream shakes on the post, and I said,
wow.
To see somebody do, she did the fake left and then went right, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, she's a very solid player.
Good.
That's why she's Player of the Year in our division.
Yeah, and she's coming back, so she's
I know she's
a headache.
Well, okay, Gabby Starr, time to step up.
Not long after that, things got tough for your team. Quarantine. So I'll let you just talk about the timeline leading up to that second Wilkes-Barre game and then leading up to that big week with Hazleton area.
It was definitely a tough time for us. January 23rd, we had a Saturday practice and got a call from one of our players first, Rachel Whiteknight, a starting sophomore she starts as a sophomore with our 4 seniors. She needed to take a leave of absence. And, that's devastating in itself when you lose a starter. But probably about 20-25 minutes later, another player had called and said she had tested positive, so we had to shut down. And I remember, calling our administration. Our superintendent said, get them out of the gym and follow the protocol. And we spent a few hours actually on the phone with DOH and the CDC. But to tell our players that, hey, we're done and we're not sure what's going to happen after this, it was just a very tearful, emotional couple of minutes with our team because we had to get them out of there. And we did have, we hosted some Zoom meetings just to keep them mentally tough. And I'll tell you what, when we came back, we only had 2 practices going into a 3-game road trip. And when I met with our staff, Coach Petro and Coach Calarco and Coach Gotham, we said, do we go in light? We only have 2 practices, but with Crestwood and Wilkes-Barre and Dallas on the slate, all on the road,
right.
We hammered them in those 2 practices. And I'll tell you what, they responded. And we were like, hey, we might have a shot here. And to go into Crestwood without Rachel Whiteknight, and Gabby Starr also had an extended quarantine because she tested negative, but because she lives with someone who was positive, the quarantine's longer. So we actually started a freshman, Rayanne Andrus, against Crestwood, and she was a little tight going in. And Serena DeFinis is a junior that we had run the point a little bit. So she had to start also, and to watch those kids step up. Jackie Neville, another senior, she had 10 points that game. Serena DeFinis had 7, and Ray played some great defense. She's such a quick guard and a very good defender, and we were like, wow, hey, we didn't drop off at all here. And we had a very good game at Crestwood. Sadie Zahner, who was also a junior who played JV. We said, hey, here's your opportunity, and she took advantage of it, and she really helped us in that game. And then we had to go to Wilkes-Barre. Serena DeFinis, who I just mentioned, she tore her ankle in that Crestwood game, so we were actually down to 4 varsity players.
Wow.
Going into Wilkes-Barre, like you said, they're such a tough team. And with Gloria, Bob Clarko came up with a masterful defensive plan to play some junk defense, and we actually had Rennie Murphy guard her, and the rest of the team played zone. And it worked out. It really bothered their guards because they couldn't get it to her. and they like to penetrate and create. But with the zone that we had put in for that special game, we had some kids step up. Again, the freshmen, Ray and Andrus, had to start. And on that stage against, like you said, a 6A school that went to the arena, she did a great job. We didn't have Gabby Starr or Serena DeFinis or Rachel White Knight, and that's our rotation other than the 4 seniors.
Right. And then you had a very big win, especially for your group, to finally go and beat Dallas.
Oh my gosh, our seniors hadn't beaten Dallas in their career. And actually, last year, they beat us 3 times. They beat us twice during the season, and we lost to them in overtime to go to the arena last year. So it did leave a bad taste in our players' mouths that we couldn't go to the arena last year because of Dallas, and they played a great game. But again, Emily Wiemet, our starting point guard, a senior, she was very sick that game, and she played very, very few minutes actually. But that's a game that we had Gabby Starr come back, and Jackie Neville again stepped up, had 10 points. She had 6 rebounds that game, and Katie had a double-double every game. And
right.
with Rennie, scoring and getting to the foul line, it was just a nice win for us on the road, especially after that quarantine.
Then you get to the last week of the season. You've got 3 games left in the matter of 5 days, which ended up being 4 days because of weather. You had to wait till Tuesday to play Hazleton area. Then the next night Pittston, and then a couple nights later you get Hazleton area at home. You found yourself in second place, half a game behind Hazleton area. In what may be our game of the year on WYLN, you came away with the big victory, and we've talked so much about defense. I thought your defensive game plan was tremendous, gave them different looks. So often at this level, whether it's boys or girls, offense wants to go to the right side because so many kids are right-handed.
Right.
I loved how there were times you brought Katie Starr out and put her on that wing,
right,
just to disrupt things. If you want to go right, she's there on the wing, and you're almost looking at it like, why is she there?
Right.
She should be in the middle. And I thought that was, you didn't do it all the time, but you gave different looks, and I thought that slowed down Hazleton area offensively. Hazleton area went on one of their typical runs, got up, you ended up battling back. Katie Starr had a big 3-point play near the end of that game. Tied at 38 with about 7 seconds left. Talk about what you diagrammed in that play.
In that play, we ran our typical side out to screen the screener play. Usually we like to run Katie Starr deep, try to get a lob or an alley-oop to her to go long. And we knew in that timeout, we said they're not going to allow that to happen. So Rennie Murphy inbounded the ball, and all of our coaches were saying, Rennie, you're going to be open. Get it in and get to the rim because it's on the weak side. Rachel White Knight did a tremendous job of setting the screen and then coming back and getting the inbound and immediately turning and pivoting and getting to her strong hand. And she's very quick with the ball. And for a sophomore to have that wherewithal to just get to the rim, it's easy to say on tape or video, we saw Rennie was open, but she's in the heat of the moment with seconds left. She did get a layup off, and Rennie was right there for a perfect timed offensive rebound just before the buzzer, and it was just an amazing play.
And so many times they talk about the most dangerous player on an inbounds play is the inbounder.
People forget about them. Yep.
They took the defender off of her to double Katie,
right,
and she just had a free run to the basket.
Right.
A great way to end the game, and your first win at Hazleton area in how long?
I've been here 16 years.
Coach, you don't look like you could be anywhere 16 years.
We haven't won. Coach Gavio wears that pink shirt. You guys always televise the game. It's like a double hex on us. And, we walk in and we say, oh, no, he's got that shirt on again. And it was just listen, Hazleton is so tough to begin with. And there's just something about playing at Hazleton. We try to tell our girls the gym's similar to ours, but, it was very gratifying, to say the least, to win there.
And what a great game, and what a springboard for what was to come later in the week. We will talk about that game at Berwick High School when we finish up Let's Talk Sports right after this. Back in the final segment of our premiere of Let's Talk Sports here with Berwick girls head basketball coach Bill Phillips. And Coach, we talked about defeating Hazleton area on that Tuesday night. You come back home Friday night after defeating Pittston area in between. You get the Lady Cougars again. You get them at home, and you have Rennie Murphy on the verge of 1,000 points. So many things going on. How did your team bring it together to get that crucial victory in the Wyoming Valley Conference Championship?
Well, It was a very exciting time going in because our girls knew what was on the line, and we did too. But we tell our girls, listen, we set a goal to win the Wyoming Valley Conference Championship. It's right here. We use the word opportunity all year. As you said earlier, every game we were playing like it was our last game, and to have a home game and to have you guys there to televise it was great. Like I said previously, we had all our senior decorations up. There were balloons in the gym. And to be down at 2 at halftime, our kids came out and said, we could do this. There was no panic button. There was no one, saying, oh, we got to settle down. We were pretty cool, calm, and collective coming out at half. And we came out with a huge third period. I think that's where we won the game, actually. We scored 23 points.
And you took that double-digit lead into the fourth quarter. And then
Thank goodness.
Then things got a little dicey.
Thank goodness, because Katie Starr fouled.
There you go. I was going to lead into that. You lost Katie.
It was
due
such
to
an
fouls
unfortunate play, and I don't remember who it was. It was a loose ball, and Katie just gives 100%. And you don't want her to go diving for a loose ball with another player, but she ended up, accidentally kicking a Hazleton player. You have to make that call.
Yeah, and the tough thing now is they're trying to get off of. So many times it could be a free-for-all with players jumping on top of players, and they're trying to eliminate that. If the ball is free and you get to the ball, fine, but they're not just letting you jump on players. But how did your team, and we have about a minute left, get to that point? And then the thing I like on your website, there's a picture of you cutting down the net. Talk about the emotions you had going through the end of the game and then getting that victory.
Well, we ended up picking up another assistant coach in Katie Starr because she was right there with a towel. She was walking in front of me calling out everything that she should have been calling out as a coach. We might have to hire her someday, I guess. But I tell you what, Gabby Starr blossomed in those final minutes. I mean, she went up and got some crucial rebounds in those final stretches. And I tell you what, our kids were mentally tough for that because Hazleton went on a heck of a run.
Yeah.
And I thought there was a loose ball. Rachel White Knight picked it up with seconds left and tossed a pass to Serena DeFinis. She scored and they called the foul and the place went crazy. And then after the game, it's one of those deals where who do you grab, who do you talk to? My wife and kid are there, which support me tremendously in what I've been doing for 16 years. And just the emotions. I mean, everyone was crying. Like, we've never done it.
Congratulations on that Wyoming Valley Conference Championship. A season to remember. Thanks for joining us here tonight.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
And join us next week for another edition of Let's Talk Sports here on WYLN.